Greetings one and all, this is Rhythmworks and welcome to my channel, and I am pleased and honored as part of the Big Up video series, the Fight Night Champion Edition, to bring to you one of the big guns, one of the main contributors to the Fight Night series, a very highly subscribed channel he has, and a wealth of knowledge of the Fight Night series, and you know, a real good gamer at heart. I like to bring to you a dude that's so laid back, I don't even know if he's fallen over. Please welcome none other than Relapse. Make yourself known to the world, bro.
What up, yo? Relapse. Coming at you with some Rhythmworks gaming interviews. Fight Night community.
I'm just going to ask you some questions real quick. First of all, how did you get involved with the Fight Night series? What got you interested in the Fight Night series? And more importantly, which installment did you actually start venturing into the Fight Night series?
Well, in the actual Fight Night series, I started playing Fight Night round 3, then I went on to 4, and then Champion, of course. But I played a ton of boxing games before that.
So which games before Fight Night, just as a matter of interest, outside of EA's involvement, did you play? Just terrible kind of arcade games that like Ready to Rumble boxing, or like, you know, there's like Rocky and shit. Oh, and Facebreaker and all those games. I mean, you know, I have something in common with those games as well, because like in my search for like the perfect boxing game, is like I had to wade through a ton of that crapola, but you know, but because it was a boxing game, it was something that I just, you know, just wanted to play, you know, but I never found any enjoyment with it. So it wasn't really until Fight Night round 4 that really gathered my interest into the Fight Night series, watching a game that a company took relatively seriously. So it's interesting to find out, actually, with the wealth of players that we have, how they got involved. And you know, with you getting involved with round 3, you know, you're somewhat of a veteran in the community right now. My next question is, upon playing round 4, what was your views on that? What did you like about that? Like, round 4 is just a completely different game to Fight Night Champion. It had a lot of flaws. I know that, like, I was one of the best in the world at Fight Night round 4, and the best way to win in round 4 is to come forward and just spam hooks. It's you can't run. There's no running. There's no, like, no one can run. There's different kinds of cheesers that you'll find, but all in all, round 4 is a really bad boxing game. Like, it's more arcadey. You've mentioned running at the very early stage of this interview, and I know it's a subject that is a sticking point with you, but we're gonna touch on that a little bit later on in the interview. But I really just want to concentrate on the aspects of the game that you like. So let's forward on to Fight Night Champion, because obviously this is the game that we're on now, and this is the game that we're featuring. So tell me, on playing Fight Night Champion, what was the things that immediately drew to your attention and you liked from then until now? From when Fight Night started, Fight Night Champion? Yeah, when Fight Night Champion, well, in fact, when the demo came out. When the demo came out, like, until I was on the demo, I played the demo, and you could just tell that it was way, way better than Fight Night 4 right away once you start playing it. Just like the fluidity of your punches, and like, just if you throw a jab in round 4 and a jab in this game, you immediately feel the better game. And yeah, you don't have to come forward in this game, which is different than that game. The one-punch knockouts are new for this game, which you used to be able to knock people out with hooks.
And everyone, at that time in the demo, everybody was a brawler. They didn't know any difference, but there's so many better mechanics in this game, just gameplay-wise, in round 4.
Okay, well, in relation to the modes in particular, I mean, what did you think of like the legacy mode, the champion mode, the bare knuckles mode? What did you think of those actual inclusions in this present installment?
I like the champion mode. It was definitely a good addition to get some story in a boxing game. Pretty different. And legacy mode, just all the same. I'm not ever a huge fan of legacy mode. I love the bare knuckle mode. Not so thrilled about it being DLC. It was already like in the game, but that's EA Sports for you. They always nickel and dime you.
Well, yeah, that's good to know. I mean, you like the champion mode, but I mean, from my standpoint, I mean, you know, if you play champion mode on more or less all the difficulty settings, it's more or less kind of like unplayable after that, really, because you've done what you can, you know, ultimately do with that section. In relation to bare knuckles, I mean, I like the bare knuckles aspect of the game, but don't you think that the bare knuckles, the inclusion of the bare knuckles DLC was a way for EA to placate the fans that understood the game to be a game of blood and cuts and injuries, which was heavily advertised in the campaign prior to the release, but then finding out that when the game was released, there was less of that to be seen.
Like when guys got cuts, it was kind of a big deal because you could actually end a fight with a cut. There's no more TKOs since the last patch. And yeah, they did advertise it and didn't give it to us right away, but that's just EA Sports. EA in general.
Well, I can tell that you're a big fan of EA and their let's say their limited ability to really push the envelope with their games. Okay, which kind of leads me neatly on, because we're kind of touching on it. What are the things that you disliked about the game? And it could be any aspect of the game, technical, social, or otherwise. What are the things that, you know, really tick you off?
Like, it is the best boxing game on the planet, which is not saying much because, I don't know, it has a lot of flaws in it, but it is a great game and I love to play it, but I hate it at the same time. There's a lot of, like the auto block, it blocks your head and body, which Fight Night Round 4, you had to pick to block your head or your body, which would make runners a lot less overpowered, which would you just pump the block. Some people are so good at pumping the block, you just can't hit them. It's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, that's a good point you raised. Yeah, definitely. Sorry to cut you. I mean, that's a good point that you raised because I was speaking with Fight Night's Finest the other day, and I gave mention that I actually picked up Fight Night Round 4 last week just to do like a revisited series for my channel, just to see how the game fared between that version and this version. And I must admit, I mean, in comparison, the game feels sluggish, but if there's one feature of the game that feels so intuitive to my hands on the controller, it is the block control on Fight Night Round 4. I think that was the most cleverest thing they basically put, because it really stated that you really need skill to block high or low before you even throw a punch. And I think those things kind of gave more for players to think about, as opposed to the auto block that we have in Fight Night Champion now, where you can just punch from the block. You can lean back and punch from the block, and you know those things are not really conducive towards the game, because you know it's another form of exploit that is abundantly used. But yeah, but continue, please.
Yeah. So yeah, you gotta throw a punch and hope it slips through your block or something. It's kind of ridiculous, but a lot of stepping. Just people who exploit the game just kind of ruin it. I think the straight hand is pretty overpowered, which is like the only punch that'll get one punch knockout. You only see a backstep straight, you get the one punch. There's like,
but let me ask you a question, because you know, a lot of people talk about the game as it basically stands now, but there's very few people that talk about the game, you know, within all the patches that were involved. And I'm glad I'm talking to you now, because I watch your videos and you talk a lot about the patches. So which patch do you think was necessary to implement in the game, and which patches do you think did the game more harm than good? And the reason why I'm asking this is because the first patch, I do believe, was it was to stop runners from basically exploiting the ring and forcing the boxers to slow down when they actually are in contact with the ropes.
That was kind of a later patch.
Okay. Sorry. I'm getting mixed up. It's so long since I've played the game in the state that I really wanted it to play. So forgive me for my inaccuracies. But obviously that patch was definitely included. So you tell us, which patch do you think was the most important patch or the most valued patch to put in the game, if any, and which patches, if any, were really damaging the game?
They took out perfect block. I don't know if you know what perfect block was, but if you pump the block, and if you pumped it right at the right moment, you'd get a counter window. And this made perfect, like, blockers, that, like, runners that would do that unstoppable. You could not even touch these guys. You'd get your ass countered over and over again until you lost. And that was a good patch. It had to happen. Perfect block is also in round 4, which left him because of the up and down chosen block, which gives it an excuse to this, I guess. But it also made, they messed around with the judges. They made it, after the first patch, everyone, I'm pretty sure they took out one punch KOs completely after that first patch as well. And then they basically take one step forward and 2 steps back on every patch that they do, let alone all the tuners, the ninja tunes that they did. That started the jab body. Everyone would only throw a jab straight to the body or to the head. Everyone just spammed that in OWC. And the next patch they tried to fix that, which turned into power punching. Whoever landed the most power punches in a round would win that round. So people would just throw a hell of a lot less punches and just win the round.
Yeah, because
people didn't know how to play the game at that point. It was just a strange game.
Yeah, and I mean, I think with the game actually being available in the PlayStation Store as well, it kind of gave, like, a new generation of Fight Night fans, quote unquote, to play the game. So obviously, with them purchasing the game at that stage, post third patch, and basically studying how people basically played the game, for them to throw power straights to win the rounds, and for them to do sidestep uppercuts and backstep straights and sidestep straights and all that, would just be considered the norm to those players, when obviously it's a bugbear for not only the veterans of the game, but the new generation of the game who are totally sim by nature. But what I want to ask you as well, Lapze, is you know, I've noticed it. I've noticed it in your videos, and you know, you make your feelings abundantly clear in relation to who you call runners. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I'm going to say, well, in defense of the people who do run, that they don't basically run to throw a couple of punches and a power straight to win the round. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are a percentage who do, but then there are a percentage who don't, simply just to get away from a person who is deemed as a pressure fighter. Now, is it safe to say that I can deem you as a pressure fighter?
Yeah.
Okay. So someone who would come across a pressure fighter, their natural instincts would basically be to be out of range and to throw educated combos conservatively, which does kind of look as though they're just running and throwing few punches as possible, but at the same time, as a brawler, as a pressure fighter rather, you're looking to inflict as much damage as possible, you know, from the get-go. And, you know, people who you might deem as runners are just trying to box their way out of that avalanche. So what is it with quote-unquote runners that seems to be a bugbear with you?
Well, that's just the only way that they know how to play sometimes. There's running to get away from damage when you're low health, and then there's another thing, that dedicated runners. There are dedicated runners that no matter what, they're gonna wait for you to come forward and make you pressure them. So you only have like one game plan, or you can sit on the ropes for a half an hour and look at each other, which is boring as hell, and I've been in plenty of those matches, just going for points. If that's what you like to do, then it's not really the runner's fault, because the game is so catered to runners that people who just love to win, they don't care about anything else. They just want to win, and they'll do anything to win. Doesn't matter if it's boring or whatever. They're going to run. And I know players that have gone 180 wins and 3 losses. One of my buddies, and he stopped playing the game because it wasn't fun to run just to get wins in. But that's the dominant way to get a good record. All the leaderboard guys are runners with Philly Shell, pump block experts that you just can't even touch.
Now, my next question is to you. I just heard the news today that Sony is going to make an announcement in relation to the PS4 console on February the 20th. Judging by my experience, EA are pretty tight in terms of the release, you know, of the, launch titles to coincide with the new consoles that Sony puts out. So I would imagine that that hopefully, fingers crossed and everything else crossed, that Fight Night Round 6 working title will be one of the launch titles to be associated with the next generation of PlayStation consoles. Now, what would you like to see improved in the game? Size of the console, no object. Specs of the console, no object. If they was to say, if Sony was to come to you, Relapse, and say, Relapse, okay, we want to make Fight Night Round 6. You tell us what you want us to do, and we will do it for you, and this will be rolled out worldwide. What would you say to them?
Well, I would have to see their gameplay engine. I don't know, they'd have to maybe change something with their engine. I don't know what they're using for this, but you're talking about the PS4. I don't know, it most likely is the PS4 announcement. They didn't say it, but if you remember
6-7 years ago, Fight Night Round 3 was a launch title for the Xbox and PS3. So it could be highly likely that they would do that again. It wouldn't surprise me with a new Fight Night. But what was it? The Fight Night champion, or just the Fight Night team at EA right now, is making another game, but it's not a Fight Night game. The EA UFC game. So they're a little busy right now. They would have to finish that to be able to make another Fight Night game. So have to give them some time, I guess.
I've seen the press conferences for those, and you know, knowing that it was EA Canada who released this edition of Fight Night, I mean, there's not even any word of EA Canada's involvement in Fight Night, you know. So it does make me wonder if even another version of the Fight Night series is even going to be handled by EA. So being a Fight Night veteran, a Fight Night gamer who knows the game inside out and the mechanics and all the exploits that's involved, what would you suggest to EA or 2K or whoever happens to be in control of the Fight Night series? What would you tell them or consult with them to do to make the game better and for it to stand up and stand out as a boxing sim title?
Stepping. I don't think stepping should create counter punches. You'd still be able to do it, but it wouldn't be counters. Maybe definitely nerf the straight hand. Straight hand's definitely overpowered. You could, I wouldn't, like, there's still got to be some form of backing up. At least if you're going to run. In one of the patches, they made it so if you ran, you would lose more stamina. The game would know that you're running, and it would take stamina down, which is when I dominated. I think it was during the Power Punch era, which I was extremely dominant during that patch. I might have gameplay somewhere of that patch, probably not on my Relapse channel, but the one thing that Fight Night Round 4 did right was the blocking system, and they would just have to bring that back, somehow map it with their new controls, because I'm pretty sure in Fight Night Round 4 they didn't have buttons. Couldn't use buttons to punch, and then they made like a DLC or something for buttons. But also there was a patch at one point, if you were too close to somebody and you threw a straight hand, it would automatically turn into a hook.
I remember that. I remember.
Yeah, and that should still happen, I think, because it looks silly when you throw a straight hand right in front of someone and you tap their face and they go down.
Yeah, it does look comical. It does look comical. Okay, my next question is, as someone, like I said, who's been playing the game for quite a long time, been playing boxing games a long time as well, and someone who is highly respected in the community, who out of the veterans and the young guns right now that you have your eye on and who you have the most respect for in the game, who are the guys who you have props for?
Well, I give props for anyone who comes forward and fights. Examples in our Fight Night community, see Fight Night's finest. See Dave the Rip One comes forward. You got Sakuraba, who's always in for a fight. But I don't know, people who post running videos on their channels and shit, I can't give anyone respect for a dedicated runner. It's disgraceful to the game. And
boxing in general. Just like, you must not be a boxing fan or something. I don't know.
Well, that's fair comment, and I respect that as always. Okay, my final question to you, Relapse, is if anyone wants to get in contact with you, link up with you as a PSN friend, or indeed through social network media, how can they do that?
My PSN right there, or my YouTube channel, and then on the right side, under my little bio there, got my Twitter, my other channel, my Facebook, all that stuff. That you'll definitely be able to contact me in whatever way you'd like.
Okay, great stuff. Well, Relapse, I'd like to thank you once again for you taking time out of knocking heads to be interviewed today. I've got to say, you're one of the most laid-back competitors I have ever witnessed in Fight Night Champion. I mean, Fight Night is a game that really brings a lot of adrenaline about, you know, in my experience of playing, and in a lot of people's experience of playing. You know, there are so many different characters within the Fight Night community that you feel their passion for the game in a lot of ways. You know, some positive, some negative, some questionable, but with you, it's like it's always laid back. I mean, really, it's like you're so laid back. I don't know if you're falling over for real. It's like, you know, you sound like you're lying down playing the game and you're knocking heads. You know, you're that calm, cool, and collected. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I just want to give you props for that, man. It's like it's something that I wish I could do, but it's just a game that just induces sweat and adrenaline every time I play it. But anyway, Relapse, thank you so much for taking part in the interview, and I hope to link up with you in the gym at some point. I'm not a heavyweight fighter, but if I happen to be, you know, if I happen to go into a heavyweight bout and I see your name right up there, please, as I ask everybody, don't hurt me too hard. Be gentle with me.
Yeah, no problem, man. We can get it on right now if you want.
well, let me edit this interview at least and put it on YouTube, and you know, this, you know, because I've got to train to fight. It's as simple as that.
Right.
How's that?
Cool.
All right, then, Relapse. But many thanks, sir. Many thanks for taking time out, and happy fighting.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
I'm out.
All right.